Hey guys, welcome to a session on Docker for Enterprise where Chanchal Bose, the industry's leading practitioner in container orchestration, will be delivering hands-on for the next 4 days. COS or Complete Open Source Solution is organizing this workshop as a base for upcoming training delivery in OpenShift DO280. These sessions are intended to build the desired conceptual and practical foundation required for OpenShift DO280 training delivery. COS has declared LEAP 2 Virtual Summer Internship Program for BE, BTech and MCA students. LEAP 2 is the only research-based internship program in India and is a one-of-its-kind program designed by COS India in association with our education partner Red Hat Academy and technology partner Prodavance Technologies. If you intend to get trained and certified in OpenShift DO280, then we suggest you enroll for our upcoming session as a whole set of incentives are associated if you register before 31st May 2020.
Let me introduce myself. I am Chanchal Bose. I am into automation and container orchestration for quite some time. And primarily I worked for Prodavance as a consultant. I also deliver training or team building exercise for COS as well as Red Hat. In 2001, I created my first Linux distribution named Mostly Linux, which is still downloadable, which I don't maintain anymore. But some of the old copies could be downloaded from here, download.com. And here is the URL. And I'll be referring to this URL because some of the virtualization appliances that I'm going to refer, you can download it from here. And I have my YouTube channel here, Chanchal Bose. If you search YouTube Chanchal Bose, you'll find my YouTube channel too. And I have created few YouTube videos on Ansible automation, then various other Linux topic. I also have my Docker Hub page. And then again, I'm going to refer to this page and in my subsequent sessions today, tomorrow, and day after tomorrow about this particular Docker Hub URL. And I'm going to refer to Docker Hub very extensively. I have my Vagrant page too, a few Vagrant images. If you are new to Vagrant, if possible, I'll talk about Vagrant also a bit. So now let's get started about today's session. So this is about Docker fundamentals, and the topic I'm going to cover is Docker architecture, Docker versus virtualization, setup and practice Docker CLI, Docker lifecycle, Docker Hub, Docker file, automated build, and Docker networking, etc. All the topics will be spread over next next 4 days. Okay. So during the course of this delivery, as I'm telling you, this is being delivered from a lockdown kind of condition. And usually you very well understand our home is not our home turf. So occasionally if you see a accidental noise of cooking or utensils clinking or a shrill whistle of a pressure cooker, don't get intimidated. It's a new normal in COVID-19 days. So that's expected and it's part of the game. Okay. So let me get started with Docker as such. Whenever I start a topic, I always don't forget to pay tribute to the person who is responsible for this. For example, Docker was created by Solomon Hykes, and he introduced Docker in 2013 PyCon conference. And now famous YouTube video, the URL is already there in this presentation, where you can see where he first presented Docker. Okay. And what is Docker good at? Okay. Docker makes it easy to build, ship, and port, run applications on the cloud. That is, quickly deploy an application in a container using operating system level virtualization. That's very confusing, isn't it? because we are doing that with virtualization. Why Docker? So that's the great confusion, the difference between Docker and virtualization. Well, I'm going to talk about difference between Docker and virtualization, but even before going into that topic, let's get started with the good old days when we did everything using a physical computer. In good old days, if we want to deploy a mission critical server application, usually you order a serious piece of hardware named server. On top of that, you install operating system. On top of that, you install your application. If you have to create three more servers or three more such applications, you provision two more systems, indent for two more systems, install the OS and install the application then, and so on. So that was the practice in good old days before virtualization. Okay. Now, when virtualization came into being, what really happened? Virtualization enabled hardware came into the picture, and this was first introduced by AMD and subsequently by Intel. Hypervisor using KVM VMware made it easy to install VM, and all our existing applications were shifted to virtual machines. So after virtualization, it became very easy to deploy a new applications because all you need to do is create a new virtual machine and install your application there. So before virtualization, it is very clear, it is very cumbersome, costly proposition, hardware indenting, and then each of the hardware requires cabling, switching power, etc. And it's time consuming OS installation, security hardening, etc. And underutilized resources because hardwares were straitjacket. Usually, always hardware are overestimated in terms of their capacity. The moment virtualization came into the picture, the advantage is pretty much abandoned. No more waiting for new hardware, fine-grained provisioning of RAM disk, easy scaling, increase RAM, less hassles to new cabling, etc., saving in space, huge savings in power. So the advantage of virtualization was very much clear, and everybody was very happy with virtualization. Okay, but once the initial euphoria was over with virtualization, some of the problem with virtualization was increasingly becoming evident. For example, if I want to install an application, at the end of the day, we are using the applications only. But to install the applications, we need to provision a virtual machine. Let's assume 20 GB for the virtual machine, disk space, 4 GB RAM, 10% of CPU. If I need five such systems, 100 GB of disk, 20 GB of RAM, and 50% of CPU. Okay, and that application uses only 10% or it could even be less. So the application is using even less than 10% of the resources provisioned. So the 90% of the applications or resources are already in use by virtual machine and operating system. But at the end of the day, what do we use? We use these applications, for example, the Nginx servers or the MariaDB database server or Tomcat application. So these are the end use for which we are provisioning all this. So there is a problem. So now hypervisors using VMware, KVM or Xen, this is the picture in good old days. I should not say good old days, it is still true. But we were trying to find out a solution wherein we can only use the app. So we are trying to find out a solution where we can use only the app without the appendage of the operating system and also the virtual machines. So what could be the solutions? Intelligent brains put their heads into action, and one such head, Solomon Hykes, came with a solution like Docker. Now, what Docker really did, Docker packaged an entire application and its dependent library in a simple package which we call image, a Docker image. How it works? A Docker image is usually also makes a system call. That means for doing anything, any application needs an operating system. So Docker image also tries to communicate to the operating system, but Docker engine intercepts such call and communicates to the underlying operating system. So that is Docker is all about. Now, you could say that it's virtualization in another name, isn't it? But actually not. Why? The reason is, first, Docker container does not require a hypervisor to start with. And unlike virtual machine, no major resource allocation per container instance is required. So I don't have to make or specifically provision resources just to run a container, because a container is just like an application the way we run a specific exe file, and we can run multiple exe files. Containers have no operating system. Here there is a big confusion to everybody, because later on I'll be talking about create an instance of a container image of Ubuntu, and here I'm talking there is no containers, have no OS. So I'll try to address this dichotomy later on. Again, Docker uses the host machine's operating system for our operation. Docker engine coordinates the integration, and the biggest advantage is hundreds of apps can start in a few seconds in a commodity hardware. When I say commodity hardware, means hardware that you are using for your desktop or laptop. Even that could be used for spinning up at least 10, 20 containers, even 30, 40 containers easily. Okay, so the advantage of Docker is pretty much abundant, and that's one of the reason Docker has now become de facto the standard of delivering application everywhere. The advantage is, once you containerize an application, it could be any application, your Java applications, or it could be your .NET applications, whatever be the applications. Once you have created a container out of it, you can port that container anywhere, whichever platform that supports Docker. That means you can same container could be ported to AWS, Google Cloud Platform, VMware vCenter, OpenShift, Kubernetes, to name a few. Okay, so I hope why Docker is so important, and it's very much clear to you why Docker is becoming increasingly important. Okay, so this is what Docker is all about. How Docker gets the job done? Docker gets
Sir,
the
can
job
I ask
done.
one?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so actually, I understood that you explained the differences between virtualization and Docker and containers. So, as per my understanding, the main difference is that there is no guest operating system here as for the Docker and container, and that is the main advantages here, right? So I wanted to just understand from your perspective, what is the main differences between virtualization and Docker containers?
Okay, the main difference is, yes, you have correctly pointed out that uh, the there is no actually when you create a Docker container instance, for example, right now here is an Apache HTTP server Docker container. This does not require you to provision a virtual machine, and on top of that, you need to install an operating system in case of a virtualization. In case of Docker, we don't have to provision a virtual machine. We don't have to provision any host operating system. All you need is Docker engine running. Very shortly, we'll see what that is all about. So you can, in a fraction of a second, you can create an instance of a HTTP server, Apache HTTP server. Okay. So the major difference is there is no virtualization or VM running, no operating system running. Okay, only the application instance will be created. That is the primary advantage of Docker. Okay, now how Docker gets that done, that's what we are going to learn about. Okay, and this particular presentation or intern learning activity will be totally hands-on. In fact, this is the first time and possibly the last time I'm going to deal with PPT or presentation. Okay, so once you have understood this, I'm going to switch over to see if there is any question up to this, because I'm going to switch. Yes, please.
Yeah, so you told go ahead, Adarsh.
Okay. You said Docker engine, so that Docker engine will be running somewhere, right? It won't be running directly on a hardware. It will be running means like on a OS like Ubuntu or Red Hat. Right?
True, absolutely true. Yes, it would be a service. It would be a Linux service that would be running, okay, either on any of the Linux platform. Of course, now Windows also supports Docker, but nowhere Docker is used on Windows instances. That I'll talk about later on. Okay. So
And
up
one
to
more-
this, everybody, it is. Yes, please.
One more question.
Yeah, now one.
What is
Yeah,
the
do you
difference
want-
between Docker and Kubernetes?
Okay, we'll talk about that later on. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the yeah, I have the question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you told that whenever you create the Docker, you can hosted multiple application on that as a exe file. Okay, so suppose I created two and
Not
three
really, not really. I didn't say that. There is some confusion in understanding. When I said when you containerize an application, please note it, Docker is meant to run only one application. In a Docker container, it will run only one application. Containerization means not to run multiple applications, but only one application. But that application, once you have Dockerized it, the way you see, these are the Dockerized applications. Once you have Dockerized them, you can put the same Docker container anywhere that supports Docker engine. For example, my Apache Tomcat application can run on Google Cloud Platform, on AWS, or data center. That's what I talked about. Okay. So yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for understanding. Just to one more thing is here. If we want to create multiple Docker container, okay, and after
Yes.
creating multiple Docker container, we can install multiple application on different container. Is it right?
For different applications, different container. That is one of the fundamental thing you must be comfortable with. In a Docker container is designed to do only one thing right. Okay, that means I am not creating a Docker container to run multiple applications. Dockers are not capable of doing that. Later on, when we create container, you will understand why it's not possible to run multiple applications on a Docker container. Okay. If I need multiple applications, I'll be creating multiple containers. Okay. Docker is designed to do one thing right. Okay. That's why we are talking about monolithic to microservice. Okay. Anyway, we'll come to that. And thanks for raising this question, because these are the very fundamental understandings or confusions that later on can cause some problem. Somebody has also raised a question about Kubernetes too. Yes,
There's a
please.
question over here, please. It's not a question, it's more a suggestion. I would request everybody to put in their questions on the chat screen. There will be someone monitoring it, and we can, take up the answers, because a lot of the questions will be answered throughout the course. This is my humble suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you for the suggestion. Yes, that makes sense. If you put all your questions on the chat window itself, and so later on I can take a look at the chat window and I can take those questions one by one, so that it would be easier for me to continue the flow of this delivery. Thank you for the suggestions. Okay, I hope everybody is comfortable with this suggestion. So let's get started with real Docker. As of now, I was talking only in terms of what? Theory. So how do I get started on my desktop using Docker? Okay, so I have already
You need to change your screen, sir.
Screen is not shared.
No, you went off screen, sir.
Everybody is not seeing my screen.
No,
We
I can see
we are able to
the screen.
see.
I can see the screen.
Okay, others can see. So
Okay, please continue.
okay. So anyway, now actually I just switched over from this screen to this screen. That's why possibly you are not seeing my screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my presentation screen. This is the other screen. If I want to take a look at the chat window, etc. Okay. So now let's get down to business. How do I get started with Docker? For getting started with Docker,
Sir,
the
please
very
switch
first
over to the presentation screen.
presentation screen. Yes, this is the presentation screen. Now this presentation screen, I'm stopping the presentation right now. Okay, because I am going to present now something else, that is my desktop itself. Okay, so as and when I have necessitates, I'll come back to this presentation screen. Okay, so can you see my desktop right now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so you can see my Oracle VirtualBox desktop, isn't it? So okay, so now I'm going to install Docker or configure Docker on a virtual machine. Okay, so even before I configure the virtual machine, I would like to tell you how to create a virtual machine. No, you already is aware of that. In the event, if you want to create the virtual machine real fast, you can use an virtual machine OVA or virtual appliance. These virtual machines that I'm going to use very shortly, I have already shared it. You can see this CentOS base OVA. It's only a 501 MB download from this URL. I am going to paste this URL in the chat window so that if anybody is interested, he can download it from here. Okay, so if you want to use this, you can download this OVA or Oracle Virtual Appliance. I have already downloaded it. In fact, I created this OVA particularly for this session only. And if you double click this OVA and if you have Oracle VirtualBox already installed, then this will pop up a new window screen. Okay, so you can see there is a CentOS 7 ChanChalBoss and all this. You don't have to just click import. Once you click import, it will import the virtual machine, and the virtual machine will be, here is the virtual machine. that I have just imported from the OVA. So it is this fast if you use a Oracle Virtual Machine appliance, OVA. Now let's get started. I am starting this virtual machine. Usually I don't use a Windows desktop. I use Linux, but I know majority of my participants here are on Windows. So that's why I have decided to use a Windows desktop. From tomorrow onwards, I'll not be using a Windows desktop, but the entire delivery will be on Linux. Okay, so let's now get down to business. How to install Docker. So first of all, just type Docker install on your Google itself, Docker install, and then CentOS. Okay, if you just type it, it will straightway take you to a page that is Docker engine on CentOS installation. This is docsdocker.com. Okay, so this is the first page, and I am going to refer to this page only to install Docker. You can pretty much do a copy paste, but before doing that, once you have started this virtual machine, don't use this virtual machine as such. Okay, all you need to do is log in using a password. Vagrant user is already there. Vagrant user has a password Vagrant, and just ascertain the IP address of the system. IP address of this system is 192.168.201.24. While configuring virtual machine, make sure in the network setting you have set. Once you know this IP, that is, this is okay. I was talking about networking in the Oracle VirtualBox. Make sure the network part is bridged adapter. Once you make the bridged adapter, it becomes very easy for you to connect to this virtual machine using something like PuTTY or similar other client. Okay, login client. For example, I use MobaXterm. So I use MobaXterm, so download and install MobaXterm. It's a very good client, and I'm going to log into that virtual machine from a terminal. Okay, the virtual machine's IP is 192.168.31.201. Okay, so I'm going to log into that. Okay, so the IP is 201, and the user by default in that OVA or virtual machine, there is an user named Vagrant. Okay, and that user has a password Vagrant. So in the event if you download from that system, from the URL I have already given you, that image will also have this user. Okay, now let's get started how to install virtual machine or Docker onto this virtual machine. First thing, yum install sudo yum install yum utils. So this package, if it is not installed, first let's get started installing this, because next command yum config command is provided by this yum utils. Fortunately, I have already installed this package in the.
I have the
Yes,
question for you.
Yes, please.
Suppose you are using the yum, is it a repository is already configured there, or need to be?
Yes, actually, the virtual machine that I'm using, it is a CentOS virtual machine, and this virtual machine has already pre-configured with a yum repository that is in internet. If you do a cat etc yum.repos.dev, within that you will find there is a CentOS base repo. Okay, and this usually by default comes pre-built with any default CentOS installation. Okay, so okay, that answers your question.
Okay.
Hope. Okay.
Suppose we are using RHEL6 or RHEL7. Is it?
And it is your responsibility. Then it is your responsibility to configure the yum repository, because RHEL doesn't come with pre-configured yum repository. You would have to subscribe the systems, and subscription manager itself automatically configures the yum repository. Okay.
How?
Okay.
Then how we can download? Then how we can download the Docker package? Because
for RHEL,
Yeah,
For
yes,
Docker
yes.
package,
It
this
is a
what I'm
different
talking
theory
is
is not
still hold the what I'm talking still holds true even for RHEL. For RHEL, Docker RHEL itself provides its own Docker package. Okay, so why I'm not talking about RHEL? RHEL provides its own set of Docker, and everything comes from Docker's RHEL's own repository. If you are using a proprietary operating system, you can subscribe to the specific channel and you'll get from there. Okay, so I am not talking about any proprietary channel, that's why. Anyway, so now I'm going to run the next command, yum config manager. This command I'm going to run just to configure the repository. Okay, so you see I am doing everything by doing a copying pasting from this URL. And how I have arrived to this URL that you have already seen. I just typed docker install CentOS. That the very first URL itself is this one. And I'm just doing a copying pasting from here. Okay, so it's just child's play. So once you have configured the Docker yum repository, your next task is to install the required packages. These are the 3 packages that you need to install. Okay, just I'm copying it from here and pasting it here. So the packages are docker c underscore c dash cli container d.io. Once you have installed these packages, you are ready to practice Docker. Okay, but once the package is installed, you need to start a daemon or service known as Docker daemon. Okay, so how to start that Docker daemon and service? That command is also provided in the page I am referring to. In the event, if you don't want to refer to this page also, later on after this entire delivery is over, I'm going to share a document which will provide all the commands and the additional things that I'm talking about here. Okay, so you can see
Sir,
Docker
one
is
question,
getting,
sorry.
yes, please.
Sorry, one quick question. So, is it mandatory to use non-root user, or we can do it through the root user as well?
Okay, is it mandatory? If you work with me, it is mandatory. Okay, so if you work in my organization, it is mandatory. Okay, if you are an amateur working in an amateur inter condition, then it may not be mandatory. It's as simple as that. In
Okay,
a
got it.
mission
Yeah.
critical system, you should never be working as root. And during the whole delivery and tomorrow onwards, you'll see that I'll be using completely Linux desktop. I'll never log into a Linux system as root. And that is a standard practice I recommend and I practice myself. If I see somebody doing it things as root user, I become furious. Okay, I hope that explains. Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
so okay, now let me start the Docker daemon. Okay, so systemctl start Docker. Now again, you need to clear the screen. To clear the screen, shortcut is Control L and paste, right click, paste sudo systemctl start Docker. Now you won't have to type a password here sudo, even if you type sudo, because the Vagrant user has already been pre-configured to run sudo commands without password. This is the default behavior of a Vagrant image. If possible, I'll talk about Vagrant image at some point of time if we get the time and opportunity. Okay, so now the Docker services are started. The very first thing that we should be doing is sudo docker run hello world. Everybody suggests once you have installed Docker to run this. Very shortly you will discover why. Okay, the reason is this hello world application precisely does what is needed at this particular point of time. You want to check whether is Docker installation is properly working or not. When you run this Docker image, the Docker image is hello world. Docker run command executes this Docker image for once. What it has done, whatever it has done, it says here, hello from Docker. This message shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. Okay, so you are comfortable, your Docker installation is all right. To generate this message, Docker took the following steps. Docker client contacted Docker daemon. Okay, the Docker daemon pulled the Docker hello world image from the Docker hub, and Docker daemon created a new container from that image, which runs the executable that produces the output you are currently reading. The Docker daemon streamed that output to the Docker client, which sent it to your terminal. Okay, so 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 right now we are comfortable that everything is working fine, okay, and everything is, our Docker installation is perfect, okay. So this command says, now you try to run the command docker run -it, okay. So I have copied and pasted the command from here itself. Try something more ambitious. You can run Ubuntu container with this docker run -it. I stands for interactive T terminal and Ubuntu bash. That means you are asking Docker to create a Ubuntu container and in that container create a interactive bash shell. Now we reached a roadblock. That means permission denied. So as a normal user, you cannot run Docker. That is not desirable, isn't it? So how as a normal user you can run Docker? Okay, the answer is there in the same page. If you go to the end of this page, the page from where I am referring everything, post installation steps for Linux. Okay, just click this link. Okay, here you'll find manage Docker as non-root user. Okay, so here it is going to ask you to add a group Docker. In fact, the moment you install Docker, Docker group has already been created. Okay. So you need to run this command sudo usermod -a capital G Docker and $user. Okay. So you need to run this sorry. Yeah, I have not copied the command. Okay. Copy. Okay. So $user could be replaced by any user you want to add to the list of users who can use Docker. Okay, so this is the command usermod -AG. What this command does, adds the user currently running this command to the Docker group. Okay, once you have run this, what will happen? I expect that I'll be able to run this command docker run -it ubuntu bash. Well, it is still denying the permissions to me. The reason is my terminal is not aware that I have already been included in the Docker group. So there are two options. Either you log out and log in, or you can use the command new grp docker. That will make your terminal understand you are also a member of the Docker group. Okay, so now it has come to know that you are a member of the Docker group, and now please run this command docker run -it ubuntu bash. So this time you can see, as a normal user, I am running a complete Docker instance. So I have created an Ubuntu instance of Docker, and this command itself has taken me to an interactive Docker shell. I am putting an end to my lecture temporarily here just to take a look whether there is any question. More importantly, I also would like to, if you have any question, here in the chat window. In addition, if you want to do it on your desktop itself, the things that I have talked about till now, please do it. I'll give you another 5-6 minutes if you want to. How much time? Is Docker container run, Docker container run and Docker run the same? Yes, it is the same. In fact, I'm going to talk about Docker commands very shortly, where you'll find why we don't need to use the word container, but Docker suggests we should always be using Docker container run or something like that. Okay. The difference between VMware virtualization and Docker virtualization, to start with, I have already said, Docker is not virtualization at all. Okay. Docker is not virtualization at all. Okay. VMware virtualization, what it does, it creates a complete virtual machine. Virtual machine is what? It's a computer. You need to allocate hard disk space, RAM, CPU, everything, okay, for virtualization. For a container, you don't have to do any specific or explicit provisioning of all these resources. You just run. For example, I have just run this Docker run command. I have not provisioned any hardware resource. My system effortlessly within a second created this because it doesn't require a virtual machine. Okay. Is the event started? Somebody is asking now. Okay. So if I'm audible, if the screen is visible, means this event has started at 10. Okay. 10:15 actually. Okay. So difference between Docker, Vagrant, Kubernetes. Okay. So Docker is, as you know, it's a method of running containerized application, creating containerized applications. Later on, you'll discover it is a method of building containers. It is a method of pushing and pulling containers to Docker Hub. Okay, so many things. Vagrant, Vagrant is a method of creating virtual machines in VirtualBox, VMware, okay, and two few others. As of now, KVM also or libvirt also, you can create a virtual machine, and those virtual machines are created out of boxes. That is Vagrant boxes. Usually Vagrant boxes could be downloaded from vagrantup.com. Many of the Vagrant images are already readily available from Vagrant URL. You can see few of my Vagrant packages are already there. People use my Ansible Vagrant images for Vagrant, etc. Okay, so what's the next question? And yes, sir, we get this meeting recording. Okay, whether you are going to get this recording or not, that will be decided by somebody else. I am the presenter only. Okay, so I'll request you to be present in this so that even if the recording is not available, you could be, you won't have to repent it. Okay, if you feel it's valuable. And now somebody said Kubernetes. Okay, so I'll put only a hint to Kubernetes. Okay, the reason being, at the end of the day, whatever that you are doing, you are learning Docker to use containers in actual container orchestration platform where you will never be using Docker. That is surprising, isn't it? We are not going to use the Docker command or Docker as such. Rather, we are going to use containers or Docker containers for orchestrating containers in Kubernetes or OpenShift platform or Mesos Marathon platform, the platform which supports container orchestration. Now, what do I mean by container orchestration? Okay. In real world, why there is a huge demand for Docker? If you just search internet, in fact, whatever applications that you are currently using, whether it's an Amazon app or a Flipkart URL or whatever that you are seeing, the probability is they are all running on containers. Okay, and default, all applications are running on containers, and these containers are, there should be a methodical way of creating containers, which we call orchestration. What is orchestration? An orchestrator takes care that not only a container is created. If I need 5 containers, it will create 5 different specimens of that container and make sure the container is up and running. In the event if it fails, it will create a new instance. All these could only be taken care of by a enterprise class container orchestrator like Kubernetes or OpenShift or Mesos Marathon. Does that answer your question? In fact, at the end of the day, whatever that you are going to learn in subsequent today and next 3 days is going to be used either in Kubernetes or in OpenShift or for that matter in Mesos Marathon. Okay. Without installing VMware, can I install Docker in any cloud platform? Yes. In fact, all cloud platform now comes with their own built-in container orchestration. For Amazon, it is EKS, Elastic Kubernetes service, and similarly, GCP has its own container service. Azure has its own container service. Okay, so you don't have to use it. Can you use Docker Swarm in place of Kubernetes? You can, but Docker Swarm is not the default enterprise choice for container orchestration. The reason being, I should not make a very value judgment. IT industry does not place so much faith on Docker Swarm. So that's why the default container orchestration engine of choice is Kubernetes, not Swarm. Even Docker Inc. itself is slowly switching over to Kubernetes. It has also given the provided the option of using Kubernetes instead of Swarm as the orchestrator engine. Okay. Dear presenter, if the session has started or about to begin, please confirm. I cannot hear your voice. Okay. So that's something. If everybody is hearing the voice, so how can I confirm somebody that everybody is hearing my voice? Everybody is hearing my voice. Assuming everybody is hearing my voice. Everybody can listen my voice, can hear me.
Yes, sir, we are able to hear.
Yes, we can hear you. You can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Me. Yes. So please check the concerned speaker. Okay. This is sent to the private clip. Okay. Okay. So, okay. I hope that answered almost all the questions. Please check concerned speaker. Is there any questions that I've missed? How do we create multiple containers? Okay. Creating multiple containers we are going to talk about later on. Hello, sir. Do we get this meeting recording? I have answered it. Anything else? Okay. VMware virtualization, Docker virtualization. I have answered. Is it mandatory install? No. Okay. It appears that I have answered majority of the question. So I'm giving you just 10 minutes break. Okay. Is it all right? Or should I make it 5 minutes? Okay. Because I want that whatever that I have done or demonstrated till now, please practice it. Okay. So that you can check whether the things that I have talked about is basically you can do it or not. I will share a page of my presentation which will show you how to install Docker as such. Okay. So in the event if you need any of the commands that I have used, okay, you can use this screen. Okay. But I will always suggest instead of using this screen, the method that I have suggested, that is typing in Google and going to this installation page as such, that is using this page only, so that you get to the actual installation commands, etc. That's a better method of doing things, because following a documentation or following an internet document, there is a difference. Internet document is always expected to be there, or the updated version is expected to be there, and my cheat may not be dependable on a future date.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Okay, so did anybody try whatever that I've done here in this Oracle VirtualBox, or for that matter in MOBA XTOM? In the event if you have tried, great. And if you have not, that's also all right. You can try it later on. If you have tried but failed, faced some issues, you can always raise that issue here itself. Okay, so on this chat window, or you can be vocal also. Anyway, so somebody said we'll try it later. Great, that makes sense too. Anyway, so I'll carry on or carry forward to the next stage. Okay, so this is the last command I executed, docker run -it bin bash. I am making an assumption I am audible to everybody and everybody can see my screen. Okay. Okay, yes, great. Just a confirmation on the window itself will give me the required confidence to carry forward. Okay, so docker run -it ubuntu bin bash. As I said, this command basically creates a ubuntu container, okay, and creates a interactive bash shell, and this bash shell is here, okay, and -i stands for IT terminal or TTY session. Okay, because the Ubuntu image was not here on my host system first time, so what it did, it connected to Docker Hub, okay, and pulled that container image and created the Docker instance. Okay, if I do a Control D or log out, okay, and then do a Control L and do a PS, docker PS. Usually docker PS command is used to show what are the Docker containers that are running. Right now, no container is running. Why it is not running? Because when you run a container using a command something like this, it usually creates a container. The moment we log out, the container instance is destroyed. Okay. So first of all, I would like to give you an idea what a container architecture is all about. Why I run this docker run -it ubuntu bash, or why docs.docker.com suggest, or your hello world suggests that you should be running this next. The reason is, now this time around when I run it, you must have noticed in less than a second, the Docker instance has been created and I am inside the Docker container. So how is it possible? The reason being, the first time when you run the command, it has downloaded that container image from Docker Hub. Okay. And second time when I run this command instance, because you don't have to download or pull the image again, so it has not taken any time. Now inside the container, I said Ubuntu, docker run -ubuntu, and in my presentation I have already said Docker does not require an operating system. Ubuntu is the name of an operating system, isn't it? So there is a contradiction in my statement, isn't it? I say that Docker does not require an operating system. I'm using Ubuntu. Okay, just to clear that confusion, I would like to tell you, if you take a look, I'm inside the container. ls / will show you the entire directory structure or whatever files that are contained inside the container. This is the Docker container. I'm inside the container. Okay. So I hope everybody is clear about it. Now, if you are a Linux user, you know where the container is, kernel or Linux operating system is stored. It is usually in your boot folder. If you do an ls boot, what do you see? Absolutely nothing. That is, there is no operating system. That's why I insist that a Docker container doesn't have an operating system. Then what's the meaning of this Ubuntu? The meaning of this Ubuntu is actually all the commands are binaries that is inside in your bin folder. Okay, we can see there are lots of commands or binaries. Windows users are more comfortable with the term exe files. Okay, I'll be using exe files occasionally too, but people from Unix background will always say it's a binary. Could somebody is audible from behind? Could you please mute your audio? Okay, thank you. So these are the binaries. These binaries have been compiled on an Ubuntu distribution or Ubuntu Linux systems and inserted into this container. So they are all compatible to an Ubuntu Linux systems, and some of the commands that is available on an Ubuntu systems like apt, you will get this apt command inside an Ubuntu container. Had it been a CentOS container or a Fedora container or a Red Hat Linux container, what you will see in place of apt, there is a yum command. So I hope the major difference between a container and a virtual system is clear to you. The container doesn't have an operating system. Okay, but the container is under the impression I am running on an operating system. The moment it tries to connect to the operating systems or makes an IO call, the Docker daemon running behind the scene intercepts that IO call and translates it to the running host operating system. Is it clear till now? I'll check. Sir, could you speak a bit louder? Okay. Okay. So is it better now? Somebody made a request. Can I speak a bit louder? So can you check whether I'm audible or better now? Okay.
You are very audible. You are very audible, sir.
Okay. Usually I am also attributed with this negative term of I am very loud too. Okay. So anyway, so and in addition to my loud sound, as I said earlier, if you can hear occasional whistle of a stray pressure cooker, please bear with me. It's part of the game. It's a change of this tumultuous time, sign of the tumultuous time, and it's a testimony that COVID has failed to dampen our spirit of having noisy, spicy Indian dishes. Okay, that's all. So, okay, so
hi sir,
yes,
for
please.
interrupt, I have one question. If inside the
please.
container it is not operating system, then how it will do all the work?
That's what I'm repeating again and again. Inside the operating system, when the application itself makes an IO call, so at the very first time on the presentation itself, what I did, I have shown you that how this Docker is configured. Okay, so here it is. This is the presentation, or this is the presentation page where I've demonstrated inside the container, the application is there. The application is under the impression it is residing inside an operating system. Okay, on top of an operating system. When it makes an IO call, an operating system call, Docker engine running behind the scene acts as the operating system. But basically, Docker engine itself is not the operating system. So what it does, it intercepts the IO call and translates it to the underlying operating system. That is here, it could be Red Hat Linux, Ubuntu Linux, or any variant of Linux. So Docker engine is the major component which does the heavy lifting of all the OS related jobs for the container. Does that make it clear? Hope so.
Yes sir. Yes sir.
Okay. Okay. So Docker engine is an API calls. Okay. So we'll talk about that later on, because I don't want to bring those complexities right now. Let's be comfortable with the Docker as such. Slowly we'll talk about where the API things comes into the picture and all. Okay. So Can you please explain, as MySQL is running as a container, if it gets destroyed, then it will, then will the processing get lost like data corruption, etc.? Okay. Yes, that's expected to be true. If the container is destroyed, that is one of the major shortcomings of Docker. We'll talk about that too, because we are going to create container instance of MySQL, etc. And we'll see that. And how we can configure persistence and all this for the database, etc. That also will be taken care of later on. Okay, so I was here where this. So this explains that what is a container like. Okay, so now that we know what a container is, so Control D, I am going to log out of this container, and Docker has a beautiful built-in help system. If you install Docker, okay, if you install Docker, if you press tab, it will show you the next set of parameters that you can pass on. Okay, if you don't pass on any parameter, for example, if I use the command docker run, Docker assumes it is container. The default parameter is, that means somebody raised a question that Docker container run and Docker run, is it the same? Yes, it's the same. Usually if you don't pass on any parameter, Docker is going to assume that you want to run a command associated with a container. But other than container, there are various other management parameters that you can pass on to Docker. That is Docker exec, Docker network. Some of these additional commands we are going to use later on. Okay, so by default, Docker, if you type Docker and press tab, then these are the additional management parameters that you can pass on to Docker. Okay, so anyway, I'll come back to my screen. So these are the things. So why at the end of the day we use Docker? The first thing, it is fast and consistent delivery of your application. Why it's consistent? Because if I have created a Java application, that application I'm going to put inside a container and I'll export that container anywhere. So it is consistent. Okay, because it has nothing, no dependency on operating system, etc. If you have a Docker running system, if your system supports Docker container, that's all. Responsive and deployment and scaling. So right now scaling part will not be visible to you, but once you start using Kubernetes, which is my intention at a later stage, on a subsequent, I have a plan to deliver a complete Kubernetes training and Kubernetes certification training, as well as OpenShift certification training. There you'll come expose yourself of deploying Docker container at scale or auto scaling and all those things. And one major advantage of Docker is running many workloads on the same hardware. That means on a commodity grade hardware, you can run multiple containers using Docker. Okay. Now this is what the Docker environment looks like. At the center, you can see Docker daemon is running. Okay. And the Docker command that I'm using is basically that Docker's client command. Docker is a client server architecture. The server itself is the Docker daemon that is running, and it exposes an REST API, and Docker CLI usually connects to the Docker daemon using the Docker CLI command, and then Docker daemon itself manages containers, manages images. So when I say container, and also in the same breath I talk about images. So is there a difference between a container and an image? We are going to come to that. Then Docker daemon itself manages Docker network and also Docker data volume. Okay. So all these concepts will be increasingly clear to you as we proceed to the next step. Okay, so this is the way Docker does. The moment I use a command docker run or docker pull, what really happens? The running, it connects to the running Docker daemon. Docker daemon checks whether the image, for example, if I do a docker pull nginx or docker run Ubuntu will check whether the Ubuntu edge image is locally available or not. If it's not available, what it will do? It will connect to the Docker registry. As of now, you are not even aware the registry comes into the picture, or I have not talked about that. Docker registry is an internet Docker hub that I'm going to expose very shortly to you. So the docker run command first checks the Ubuntu image is locally available or not. If it's not available, it connects to Docker registry, pulls the container image, creates an instance of the container. Okay. So this is the mechanism that happens behind the scene. Okay. So in the same fashion, you can use Docker to search for various Docker images. You can use the Docker command to sign up, and later on tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I'll be forcing you to create a Docker hub accounts. I'll check whether you all have all these things are part of the learning during the course of this delivery. Okay. So anyway, and so I was talking about the difference between a container and a container image, isn't it? But I have not thrown any light. This was sent to, is it secure as secure as running applications on a bare metal server? Okay. Your bare metal server or your bare metal server could be even more insecure. Okay. Because Docker is very secure in the sense there is only one application running. So at least there are no other applications running, no other applications available. So the security associated with the additional applications are not also available on in your container. So in a way, I can safely say your container is more safe than your bare metal. Now, at the end of the day, container may not be safe. How safe it is? As safe as the platform on which it is running. That's also true for your bare metal. Your bare metal is as safe on the platform on which it is running. If your VMware is safe, if your Amazon AWS is safe, then your VM is also safe. Same is true for containers. Can a user directly connected to a container using SSH? Okay. You don't have to do an SSH. Okay. A container is not supposed to run like an operating system. If at all, if you want to get connected to a container, there are easier methods that I'm going to tell you or show you very shortly. A container runs only one application. For example, if it runs an application like HTTP server, it is only going to run an HTTP server. If you expect it to do an SSH onto that system, SSH server will never be running on a container unless it only runs an SSH server. In that case, you have to create a container that will only be running SSH service. Are you getting the point? Okay, but still you can execute command inside a container that I'll show you very shortly. Okay. So I was talking about the difference between a container and a container instance. Okay. So container and an image. Okay. So if you run the command docker ps, okay, this will show you that there is no process, Docker process right now running. If you run the command docker ps-a, that will show you all the Docker processes that have run. So these processes, these are the container ID. Okay, so we have created bash container instance, then a hello world container instance. These are the container instances that we have run. Now, what is the difference? we call them as containers. They are not images. So what's the difference between a container and an image? Okay, the major difference between a container and an image is an image container is created out of an image. For example, this is the container ID. I have highlighted the container ID, and this container has been created using the image Ubuntu. Image Ubuntu has been downloaded from Docker Hub. Using that, a container instance has been created. So the difference between a instance and a container is when you create an instance, that is a container. What you download or pull from Docker Hub or Docker registry, that's a container image. Okay, so that's the difference between container and a container image and a container. Okay, you can edit a container, you cannot edit an image. Very shortly we'll see all that. Okay, so okay, you can, if you don't want to run a container, you can use the command docker pull alpine and all this, docker run alpine. So these are the very commands that you can use. A container is a runtime instance of an image. An image is an executable package. So here alpine is an image. Okay, and docker run alpine, that will create a running instance of a container. Okay. Okay.
Sir, sorry for interrupt, sir. I have one
Yes,
question.
please. Yes,
So
please.
whatever we are downloading from Docker Hub via image, that is image. Before we use the docker run command, it is image only. After using
Yes.
docker run command, it will convert into the container.
Yes.
So
Yes.
without running the images, we can't see the it is container or not.
In a way, you are true. I am repeating my statement again. Image is what you are going to pull from Docker registry. Container is what? The instance that you create out of the image. So instance is container. Image is what you pull from your registry. So if you run the command docker ps-a, that will only show you basically the instances that you have created. Okay. In fact, docker ps-a q, that will precisely show you. Okay. These are precious commands. Please write down these commands. Later on, I'm going to use that. This will only show you the container. Okay. If you want to see what are the images that are available to the system, you can run the command docker image. That will tell you, okay, it is not showing anything. Docker image. So there is something wrong with the
So
command.
images,
Okay,
images.
thank you.
Yes.
Yes, because I just wanted to show you, even if you do something wrong, it will give you manage images. It will show you a hint. Okay, if I download, type this, okay, image, I can do a docker image ls. Okay, so it is already prompting you. These are the additional parameters that you can pass on. As I am time and again telling you, docker gives you a beautiful option, built-in help commands. If you press tab twice, then it will already show that it could be image or it could be images. If you just type images, it will only show you the images. So the images, docker images command shows the images that has already been downloaded. Okay, and this is the image ID. So now I hope you are already clear about the difference between docker image and docker container. Now, a docker image and docker container, the difference between the two is, one, whenever you instantiate an image, docker using the underlying image creates a container instance. Out of that instance, major part of the image part will be locked. That means on the image layer, you cannot write anything, and instance will create a read write layer. that is known as container layer. If you want to write anything, you can write in the container instances read write layer. In fact, we are going to do that very shortly. Okay. So this is the difference between an image and a container. Image is what you get downloaded. Container is when you create an instance where on top of the image, a read write layer is also created. Okay. So let's pull an image, Docker pull Ubuntu that is already there. If you want to see what are the images, what are the layers that are there inside a container, you can run the command docker history. Okay. If you press tab twice, it is immediately going to prompt you. I have two images. Okay. So you can type Ubuntu. Immediately you can see our Ubuntu latest is also all right. So I am not typing. Can you see that I am taking a command completion? Docker has beautiful command completion support. It is already seeing that there are two images available and it is prompting what should I be typing. Okay. So you see these are the layers that are already created inside the container, inside the image. Okay. So you can see the layers. What I was showing you in the previous picture, these are the layers that is inside a container. Okay. Okay. So using the Docker history command, you can find out the layers that are there inside a container. Okay. So now Docker help. Already these are the management commands. In fact, if you just type Docker, okay, and press tab twice, it will show you all the management commands that are available at your disposal. Okay. Many of these commands over a period of time, we are going to execute. Okay. Okay, now we are going to provision a database server. Okay, so how to create a provision a database server? We are going to create a database server using MySQL. Okay, so what are the methods of creating? Usually, if we are going to do it for the first time, it always makes sense. It always makes sense that you go to Docker Hub. Okay, hubdocker.com. So, and there, how to reach to Docker Hub? Okay, just type Docker Hub. Okay, Docker Hub. Okay, that will straightway take you to Docker Hub. Click hub.docker.com. Okay, here to find out a MySQL image, just type MySQL. Okay. So here is a MySQL image. You can see for every image there are n number of images. It's always better to use the one that has the maximum number of stars or maximum number of downloads. So this is the MySQL original image. It appears to be by the official image. It appears to be the official image. That means the creator of this image is by MySQL. If you click this, it will tell you how to use this MySQL image. I can use a Docker pull, or you can simply click this. It will copy the command. Okay. Let's now paste this command here. So what this will do? It will pull the Docker MySQL image and store it in the local pool of images. While it is pulling, in fact, you have seen that earlier we have created a container image by using the command docker run. Okay. If you run the docker run command, then it will start once, okay, and then stop. In fact, you want to run any service. If you want to run any service, you need to run the container as a daemon in a daemon mode or as a detached service. So we are going to run this command docker run. Okay, docker run. Okay, and then minus name. Okay, MySQL db MySQL DB and then MySQL. Okay. This command all right? Let's check. There is something more we would like to do. That is, we would like to run this command in a detached mode. Means it should be running as a daemon and it should not engage this terminal dot. Okay, if I run this command, it says there is a parameter, something terribly wrong here. Okay, so what is wrong? It says it is the minus name. So possibly what could it be? Possibly minus name. Okay, let's check whether that is right or not. Okay, okay, it appears to be right. Okay, so more often than not, I'll be typing an incorrect command intentionally so that you can also find out without referring to any documentation page how you can work your way around. Okay. Now, if I do a Docker PS, actually no process is running. What we expected, because we have passed on a parameter -d, we expected a Docker daemon should be running behind the scene, but there is something terribly wrong. What has gone wrong? Okay, so if something goes wrong with your command, because it has created a container, and because it has created a container, the container ID is already there. Okay, but container instance died. If I do a docker ps -a, that will show me, okay, sorry, docker ps -a, that will show me, oh my goodness. Okay, that will show me, yes, MySQL container was created, okay, with the name MySQL DB, but it is no longer running. So what is wrong? If you want to find out if something goes wrong with one of your containers, you can run the command docker logs. Okay, docker logs, then your container ID. It could be container ID or container name. In my case, the container name was MySQL DB. Docker logs MySQL DB. Okay. So you see, you need to specify one of MySQL root password, allow empty password, MySQL random root password, and all this. So that means to run a MySQL container, you need to pass on some additional parameters. Actually, this has already been recorded here in this page itself. Okay, if you go to this MySQL page, it will show you you need to run this with some additional parameters like this. What are those additional parameters? MySQL root password, MySQL user, MySQL database. So primarily you should run something like this: docker run -name MySQL -c file. Okay, something like this, root password. So these are the parameters that you need to pass on. So Docker Hub itself, this page itself provides you a list of parameters that you should be passing on to this container. Okay, so instead of writing so much, I have already recorded it in my presentation itself. Okay, so I'm going to copy it from my presentation itself. Docker run this, and as I don't want to type so much, my time is valuable because your time is valuable. Okay, so I'm going to type this here. Okay, okay, so this time around we have passed the command docker run -name MySQL basic -e. -e is the parameter. MySQL underscore user is user1. MySQL password CentOS. MySQL database item. So a database, a MySQL container instance has been created. Now if you run the command docker ps, okay, you can see the Docker MySQL database is up and running. Okay, so Let me check whether there is any question that is popping up or not.
Sir, I have one
Running,
question.
yes, please.
So, sir, actually, I wanted to ask this question initially only. So, if we are building any Docker image, and actually, as you mentioned initially, that Docker image, that container will work on any operating system that application supports. So that then we have to just install all the binary, bundled all the binary and all the packages needed for all the supported operating system, just like if the MySQL need a separate binaries for the Ubuntu or RHEL or for the CentOS or open source.
1 minute.
Yeah.
I'll just make you a request, suggest a request, just make your question precise. Okay. First thing, I suggested that if you create a container, okay, Docker container, for example, here was the MySQL container. These container can run on any variant of Linux that has a running Docker daemon or that supports Docker containers. Even the Docker daemon may not be running. If it's a Ubuntu Kubernetes system, it supports containers. So you can use that container. So that MySQL image could be used in Kubernetes or any Linux operating system running Docker. Or you can use your container in Amazon EKS, in Google Cloud Platform, or AWS Azure Container Service. Is it clear? Does it answer your question? If not,
yes,
please.
sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. And never think of running multiple applications in a container. A container is by default and designed to run only one thing and only one thing good. If you have a plan to run multiple things, think of something else. In fact, we are going to run multiple things. That means later on we are going to create a complete CMS systems, that is WordPress database, WordPress applications that will be running a container, also running a database server. And how to do that? That all also I'll show you. Okay. So there also we are going to use multiple containers. Each of those containers will be doing his part. Okay. So that's the way your container is designed. Okay. So see, this is the Docker PS command that shows you that the Docker container is up and running. Okay. So if I Docker PS is this. Okay. Now, if I want to know much more, something more about this container, you can run the command Docker. Okay. Docker inspect, then name of your container. Okay. My container name is MySQL Basic. I'll be doing a MySQL Basic. Docker inspect MySQL Basic. Okay. So you can see it has thrown lot of information. So about a running container, if you want to ascertain various informations, what all it is doing and what all things that is available, okay, you can see that this container status is running, okay, and whether it has any IP or not. Okay. If you want to find that out, you can also find that out from this output. Okay. Let's find that out. This Docker inspect this, then grep minus capital A5, that will show me subsequent 5 lines followed by IP. Okay. That is showing me lots of IP. Anyway, I got an IP address here. So this container has an IP address. Okay. So is it reachable? Is it reachable? So let's see. Control L PIN ping. Okay. And the IP address. Yes. So that Docker container is running and we can ping that container too. So can we log into that container? Okay. So somebody was talking about doing an SSH, isn't it? Okay. If the container is running on your host system, you can pretty much enter into that container using the command docker exec. Docker exec. Then MySQL basic. Inside that, try to run an interactive terminal minus IT, and whether it is bash or bin bash, I'm not really too sure. I'm typing /bin/bash. Okay. Okay. So I didn't do an SSH, isn't it? I have entered inside the container by using the command docker exec -it MySQL basic, where MySQL basic is the name of the container instance, and I have executing a bin bash command, and it has provided a bash shell inside the container. If you do an ls, it shows these are the devices. If you do a ps ax, okay, ps command is not found. Why ps command is not found? The reason is this is a container. Don't expect all things in life a full-fledged operating system. The commands that you expect here will be there inside this container. Okay. So my ps command unfortunately is not there. What are the commands that are available? I can do a /bin. Okay. So these are the commands that are available. You can execute any of these commands. Okay. Not ps is not included one of these commands. So whoever has designed this container, he has a precise list of binaries or executables that he needs. He has precisely put them inside the container and created the image. Okay. So I hope this gives you an idea what a container is all about. Does this container has the MySQL command? Yes, MySQL command is there inside. Okay, that's great. So we can try to check whether our MySQL terminal is application is running or not. We have used this command to create this instance, isn't it? So we can try to log in to that container using the command MySQL -u. User is user1, isn't it? User1. Then -p password, it will prompt for it. Okay. Host is localhost, isn't it? So -h localhost, that is, it is running on localhost, and then try to -p. Okay. Yes, it has prompted for a password. The password we have inserted as CentOS. Okay, great. So we can see that the running instance, okay, it is running a container instance, and inside that MySQL daemon is running, and we can execute it and we can enter into that container. Okay. So we can pretty much create our database, show databases, and all other commands that you would like to run. You can run all those commands. Okay. So let's see if there is a relevant question according to this. Okay. 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 I don't find any question in this. Okay. Can there be a situation where we want to run a container from an image and we run out of the dependencies? Run a container from an image and we run out of the dependencies required for the desired container. Can there be such a situation? Okay. If you are using a container, means you expect an application should be up and running. That applications is, if it is up and running, that satisfies your container. But yes, you want certain other command as a binary should be available in that. Okay. So you can install that container inside the container. For example, okay, in this container, if you feel that a particular command is not available, you want to install that. If it's a Ubuntu container, you can try to install that using apt install. Okay, apt install command and install the package inside this container. Okay, so that's if a particular executable, okay, but it cannot be a bind service, because you cannot start another service, or that is not why it is designed for. Okay, so okay, I hope that answers your question. And is there any other question? Let me find out. This Telegram group somebody is propagating. I'll request not to do this, because please use this Telegram group for Docker related discussion with COS. Okay, so somebody has posted this. There is a Telegram group that has been created for Docker COS. I'm not really too sure about this Telegram group, because I'm not aware of this. This is from COS. Okay, if it's not from COS, then it is not desirable to be propagated from here anyway. So let me get down to business. So now the additional Docker commands. Okay, if I have already Control D to log out of this container. So Docker PS shows me that the Docker is running. If I want to stop this, what are the options that are available with this container? Docker container, if you press tab, you will find these are the options. You can pause a container, you can stop a container, you can start a container, you can unpause a container. If you pause a container, okay, it will do a pause stands just like the status quo. Okay, freeze. Okay, and Docker stop is, it will be a graceful exit. Pause is status quo, just sleep mode. Okay, unpause will unpause it. So these are the various options that are available to a particular container. If you want to attach to a particular container to this terminal, then you can use Docker container attach. Okay, so these are the various options that are available. Okay, so temporarily I am going to stop this container, Docker stop, okay, MySQL basic, so that will stop my container. Okay, now you have already seen up to this. Any question? No. What is the difference between attach and exec? That's a good question. Attach is if the running container is, if there is a container running, and if you run the command docker attach, okay, for example, docker attach this, anyway, MySQL is not running, okay, so what it will do, okay, it will attach to that running container, so your terminal will become engaged, okay, because the container is stopped, so I cannot attach it. So that's the difference between Docker attach. But once you attach, it will be very difficult for you to get out of this container, because only by doing a control C that will destroy the containers. Okay, so it is always good to, the difference between executes, if you do a Docker exec, you can get inside the container and do a logout, that is control D. Okay, and that will allow you to gracefully get out of the container, but the container will continue to run behind the scene. So Docker exec in a way superior to Docker attach. I hope that answers your question. When a container is paused, does it take a consistent snapshot prior to pausing? Yes. In fact, it is not a snapshot at all. It is that the state is preserved. In a way, you can say it's a snapshot. And okay, an unpause will precisely start it from the, it is just like Windows sleep. Okay, if you just log in, you get to see everything that is as it is. Okay. Now, okay, I don't find anything else in this chat. So I'll proceed. And one last thing, because I'm not going to extend it beyond next 10 to 15 minutes, because going beyond a certain point of time, you lose the attention of your participants. And okay,
Sir,
I'm
one
going to.
question. Sorry.
Yes, please.
Sir, one question, sir. So, sir, do we need to do any extra steps if we are deploying container of a cloud?
Container in a cloud,
Like,
not of a cloud. Okay. If you want to install a container in a cloud, isn't it? Hello?
yes, sir.
Yes. So you can, in fact, every cloud tools, okay, provides their own container hosting platform. For example, containers in clouds are usually not hosted like Docker. In fact, I will not suggest you to host a container application using Docker. That is not the suggested way. Then why the hell I'm carrying on this entire exercise? Because unless you understand what a container is, in fact, you won't be able to create an containerized application anywhere. Okay, so for creating a container instance in cloud, every cloud platform provides a container hosting methods. For example, in Amazon it is EKS, Elastic Cloud Kubernetes Services. Google has its own GKS, Google Kubernetes Service. Azure has its own. VMware itself has come up with its VMware Pivotal PKS, VMware Pivotal Kubernetes Service. Okay, so every platform has its own method of hosting containers on it. Okay, so but it is not usually Docker. Okay, it is container orchestration at scale, primarily using Kubernetes or some variants of Kubernetes. Okay, for example, OpenShift Kubernetes distribution, one of the most popular way of container orchestration. How is the input to that container set? I would like to run applications which expects video stream output to the applications for generating analytics. Okay, so I would like to run applications which expects video stream input. Okay, if you are the container designer, you need to take care of all that. Your container application should be in a position to take those inputs. Okay, for example, I can run a complete web application using a container. Okay, that will be accepting user inputs, etc. So many things. But while designing the container itself, I have taken care of, because tomorrow or day after tomorrow I'm going to run a WordPress application. There you can put in, it will be asking for so many inputs, etc. So if it's a streaming applications, video streaming applications, where you want to input streams, etc., additional inputs, then you need to design your application in that fashion so that it is capable of doing that. Application means containerized application. Okay, how is the input? Can we have recorded sessions of hi sir, can you please explain what about internal container registry? Yes, once we explain container registry, if possible, we can talk about internal container registry. I'll also try to demonstrate how to create a internal container registry. Okay, so
Yeah, you are telling about how to create a separate Docker volumes also.
yes, if you want to create a container instance of a MySQL server and attach it to a physical volume, okay, that part also will be taken care of. Okay, so that's it. Expecting you to join tomorrow again at sharp at 10. Today we had to wait for 15 minutes. Tomorrow we'll make sure that everybody starts at 10, and I'll be starting the session at precisely at 10. Okay, if you have any question, you can still carry out and put on any question. And if you expect something from my side also as a suggestion, that also you can put here as a suggestion.
Sir, thank you very much. Is there some homework that you would expect us to complete before tomorrow's class?
Okay. The most important homework is the thing that I have demonstrated as of now, that is creating a virtual machine on Oracle VirtualBox, then installing Docker, then the exercises that I have done. If you carry out these exercises, that will be great, because that would make our life easier. And tomorrow you can carry out parallelly the things that I am doing here. You can also do it parallelly on your laptop or desktop too. Thanks for the question.
Sir, you said that tomorrow we're going to see how to create VLAN in VirtualBox, right, sir?
How to create
virtual machine in Oracle VirtualBox, right, sir?
Okay, no, that how to create VM in Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, that I have already demonstrated itself today. Okay, yeah, if necessary, I can just repeat, just a double click, mouse click. How to install complete Oracle VirtualBox virtual machine installation part, that you can take a look at my YouTube video itself. In one of those videos, you can find all that. Okay, you can go through these Docker fundamentals. There is some Docker fundamental. There I have already demonstrated how to install Docker, and there are some other how to configure a SUN, etc. They have already demonstrated how to install a virtual machine in Oracle VirtualBox. Okay.
Did you perform any live migration, sir, in that video tutorial?
Live migration from what to what?
Live migration from one host to another host, sir.
Okay. Live migration of virtual machines?
From one hypervisor host to another hypervisor host, sir.
No, I have not demonstrated. I have not demonstrated anything like that. Okay. And that will not be a part of the demonstration of this also, because this is not to this is not a session for enterprise virtualization as such. So naturally, this will not be a part of the delivery. Okay. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, Samitha here.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, I would like to know,
yes, please, I'm listening.
Today, like you shown some commands and all, where I can get this command and I can practice.
Okay, where you can get those commands and where you can practice. Okay, so what I am going to do, I'm sharing the commands that I'm already executed here in the chat window, particularly to install certain packages and etc. I'll take an history of it and share it in the package itself. Okay, in the command line as well. That will help you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Another question, like this training session, I don't like how many days, and only I know like this is 10 to 1 o'clock. That is what I my understanding. But this is how many days?
Actually, it would be 10 to 12, because 10 to 1, it is very difficult to keep people glued to the system longer than even for 2 hours. So I'll try to keep it within 12 only, and try to put all the required ingredients within the 2 hours, and it would be for next 4 days, and hopefully I'll be able to cover all the topics that have already promised within that duration only. Okay,
so it will till 30th of this month, or
so today and next 3 days, 27, 28, 29, 30. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys. Tomorrow at the same time, 10 a.m. sharp.